Okay. We are live on Facebook. And we are going live on Instagram. So bear with us if you're tuning in on Facebook. We're just setting up our live for Instagram as well. Okay. So Sarah and Esther, I've just hit live on Instagram. So if you want to jump over there.
Hey, gal.
Okay, here we go. Okay, kia ora, Sarah. And Esther. And I don't know, can you do 3 live on Instagram? We're about to find out. Kia ora, everybody on Facebook. We're just doing some technical setup on Instagram and Facebook. But yes, we will kick off. Okay, cool. Okay, kia ora, everybody, and welcome to tonight. I'm coming to you live on Facebook and Instagram. We're doing a series on how young people have faced the challenges of COVID-19. I'm coming to you from Kirikiriroa, Hamilton, and want to acknowledge Waikato Tainui as the mana whenua of the land where I am and community Hatia. My name is Gemma, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Seed, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm here with Esther from Defence Waikato, Sarah from New Zealand Made Products, Pamella from Escapist Entertainment. We're going to have a kōrero about how these wahine have contributed to the well-being of our communities over the last couple of months and built leadership and resilience in the organisations they work with. So if you're tuning in on Facebook or Instagram, please feel free to drop us a comment. The comments are being moderated tonight. So yes, please feel free to join the kōrero. So let's kick off. We're going to be together tonight for about 40 minutes and then we'll wrap it up close to that, if not just before. So Esther, we're going to kick off with you. And welcome. How have you been? It's been a weird couple of weeks, eh?
Oh, to be honest, Gemma, it feels like it's been a whole year, not even a couple of weeks or a couple of months. It's been a blur, to say the least. Yeah.
I just missed all of that. Oh my God, technical difficulties.
Did anybody get that?
Sorry, team.
It's all right.
Can you 2.0 it?
Yeah, so basically the question was, how was the last few weeks? Well, for me, it's felt like I have experienced an entire year's worth of feelings, emotions, stress, work. It's been like an extreme blur, but like for me, I actually thrive in a strange way. Thrive in environments where it's like fast, go. We've got to get stuff done, and I think I thrive especially in a organisation where there's a very clear value system and there's a very clear orientation of what needs to be done. And so I started working for Waikato Civil Defence a week into lockdown. I usually work for the New Zealand National Fieldays Society to deliver the field days. So we'd just gone into lockdown, and then I got a call from our HR manager saying, as part of our commitment to our community for the field days, we're going to send some people into the Waikato Civil Defence GEC, which is the main regional hub for all civil defence activity in the Waikato. And they needed a comms person to join their PIM team. And the PIM function is essentially the public information management function, where you do all the messaging and all the comms for the entire region. So my colleague and I both started on the same day, and it was literally baptism by fire every day for a whole week. But I really felt like honoured to be used in a way that my talents were being used for the better of the community. And obviously it was a really strange time for so many people, and all the anxiety that I was facing as a person starting a new job in an entirely different place with a whole new team of people was basically what the whole country was feeling about lockdown and how do we even live in this state of emergency. So I kind of saw it as like I'm doing what most people are doing, but except I get to see the front line of what's actually going on in the community. And yeah, it was a really wild time.
No doubt. I wonder, you kind of talked on starting during lockdown. What was it like for you meeting your teammates and collaborators via Zoom?
Well, I actually met the 4 of my members at the GEC in Hamilton for 1 week. And just in my personal life, my bubble was down with my family on the family farm, which was like an hour south. And so I was actually up here for, I had to come into the office to get all my gear and everything. And I actually had to spend a week here. And there was one point where I thought I'd be separated from my whole family for a whole, like the whole of lockdown. But we actually made some really good plans with Civil Defence to mitigate that. And everyone that was working there was going home to their family bubbles. And there was so much precautions we were taking in terms of like distancing and cleanliness. But the biggest thing for me was actually just I'd already felt so much uncertainty with my own BAU job. And then suddenly I'm in this extreme crisis comms environment where things are changing just like that. Like, we need to get this message out. These people are struggling. We're getting calls from these people who don't have access to food. There was just so many layers to the situation. And I think everyone I know agrees that when you start a new job, I think we underestimate the amount of time it actually takes a human brain to comprehend the dynamics, the people, just those like beginning relationships with your colleagues. And I just was straight in there. I had to know everything about it within a couple of days, what my role was and how we were going to do it. But at the same time, there was this whole sense of we actually don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but everyone doesn't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So I really think in a strange way, the whole situation with COVID-19 has actually taught people to have so much more compassion in the workplace. And I'd like to think that would transform outside of this whole situation, and that, there are different ways of doing things. You can work from home. People do actually have, they achieve more. And the Zoom meetings, although it felt really removed initially, I am so close with my team members now. Tomorrow's my last day with Civil Defence. And tomorrow I'm actually going to meet my manager for the first time in person. And I feel like she's one of my best friends now, which is a really strange situation when you usually see managers as a seniority position. But a situation like this, you actually see all the best parts of people because there's a stress factor and you just have to work together. You also see some of the worst parts of humanity. But in the sense of, starting a new job in the middle of this, it was a real squeezing your brain through a small tube and knowing it was painful, but you just have to do it. And it came in waves for me. One week I was like, I can't do this. I'm just not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not prepared. I can't believe anyone thought I could do this, especially myself. And then the next day I was like, no, I just have to keep going. And I was taking meetings with people all across the region, and it sounds funny, but sounding like I knew what the hell I was talking about. I did know, but it was just odd for me to be in a position where people were expecting you to, they were relying on you for the right information. And in a way, I'm already a real confident speaker and personality, but it really tested me to actually step up into those things that I know I have, but I had to just roll with it, because we know things about ourselves, but until we're confronted with them or we have to do them, we have to step into those things. And so the whole journey of every week was a new campaign for in terms of comms and marketing. Every week there was a new issue. it was just like jumping and jumping. It was like running a marathon, except you're sprinting the marathon. And there's probably one marathon, there's marathon every day. So to come out of that, it's really, burnout is a real thing. I thankfully haven't burnt out, but I can see with some personality types, the older you get, you kind of become aware of where your lines are and your boundaries. And for me, when I start not sleeping, that's when I'm like, okay, something needs to change. And so I think, just to round up what you were saying, is that the older you get and the more you become aware of the workplace and starting a job and I guess adulthood and managing yourself, this really did teach me how to be aware of my thoughts and what I perceived myself to be able to do or not do. And those challenges in a lockdown situation where you are literally living in your pajamas for 50% of the time, you had to just confront that head on, and you just have to work well with people. You know, you got to drop the ego. The ego has to go. You have to, like, you know, step up.
There's so much on the line. Hey, I mean, yeah, it's just so insightful, Essie. You've got such a beautiful way of articulating that experience through a lens of a growth mindset, and I think I just want to kind of hear your thoughts before we move on, just around, like, what do you see are some of the, like, biggest wins? Like, what would be the biggest win for civil defence over the past 2 months? Proudest moment.
Two big wins for us is that the Waikato Civil Defence got recognised nationally at NEMA, which is the National Emergency Management Agency, as the leading civil defence in the country to produce the best comms and marketing collateral. We were always ahead of the game. Our manager was just always like, how are we making this creative? How are we talking to the public in a way that's relatable? And just having that sense of go, go, go with a leader. I think the leader, like my leader, Nicola Crisp, she's from Waikato Regional Council. She is the reason we just produced fantastic work. And we were giving all of our collateral to everyone across the country. So that was a really cool sharing space for the PIM network across New Zealand. The second win was that we launched a cookbook in lockdown called the Mighty Waikato Cookbook. And it was an entire e-cookbook that you donated to online and downloaded. And it was filled with hospitality establishments from across the region, from the mountains to the sea. There was something for everyone in there, with over 40 establishments and 50 recipes. We got it all via emails and Zoom meetings, and we collaborated with Momentum Waikato and Wise Group so that all of those donations from that book that you can download from the Civil Defence, if you go into our Facebook, you'll see the link. There's a website, goes right back to the Here to Help You campaign, which was launched by Community Waikato, Wise Group and Momentum, which has been producing frozen meals and feeding people with food boxes all across the Waikato. So we're talking not just a couple, like in the hundreds of thousands of food boxes and meals to people, and the need is only growing because the ripple effects are just coming out of COVID-19. So I was able to visit Claudelands last week, which has been transformed into like this big production line distribution center, and to see how all of those community groups have collaborated and just stepped up and worked together, and how we've produced a cookbook which seems like a cookbook, but it showcased all the incredible culinary talent in the region and the fact that we need to support hospitality now more than ever. But also, you donate for a cookbook, you feed a whānau, you know, you feed a family, you feed an old lady who hasn't been able to get to the supermarket. It's just such a simple way to give back to your community if you felt like you haven't been able to contribute during this whole time. And so for us, that was just like to see that in action. And we've raised over $8,000, and it's been live for about just over 2 weeks. And that's just because Kiwis are bloody good people. But we're hoping to get over 10, which we know we will. But
let's pop the link to the cookbook in the comments so that people who are watching can grab the cookbook. It's a pay what you can donation. Hey, maybe there's someone watching that wants to give $2,000. That's ambitious. But
those proceeds go back into feeding the Waikato, the most vulnerable people in the Waikato. And then we also say to our buyers, like, hey, find a cafe or recipe in that book, make a plan to go and visit them. Go to Te Aroha and go to the Old Forge. Head down to Ruapehu and go to Angel Louise. Head out to Raglan and go to Shack. Buy a coffee. Go and spend some money in that town if you've got it, because those businesses need you more than ever as well. So feed a family, support local business. It's just such a simple way to feel like you've contributed to this whole crisis. I'm just putting the thing in the comments.
Oh, Louise has done it. Thank you, Louise. Louise is moderating the comments. She's the magician behind the scenes. Thank you so much, Esther. Really appreciate you being here tonight. I'm going to bounce to you, Sarah. You must be pretty full on right now. Thanks for making time for us. How's things in your world?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pretty busy. I mean, I only started the Facebook group New Zealand Made Products 5 weeks ago now. And so obviously no one could have anticipated, not even myself, how quickly that would have grown in the short amount of time as well. And so I've been challenged in a lot of areas of my life. The most evident one is I still work full time, and I also run my own business on the side as well. So I'm managing, work full time, managing my own business on the side as well as running this nearly 500,000 member Facebook group now.
Totally. Oh, wow.
So just a little busy.
Oh, just a few things. I'm wondering, wow, that's huge. You mentioned, the group has grown to nearly 500,000 members now with 16 moderators, I've been told. What's your biggest challenge in managing that space?
There's a lot of challenges. I mean, the hardest one on a personal level is knowing that there is such a need out there, but also wanting to give people the time and the exposure that they deserve, then approve the next lot of posts. So if you're not familiar with the group, you can't just post in the group. It actually has to wait in a queue for a bit. And I mean, our wait time at the moment is up to 2 weeks. That's how many posts we have in the queue. When we first started out, I mean, the wait was only 24 hours, then it grew to 3 to 5 days, and now some posts are sitting there for up to 2 weeks waiting to be approved. And I mean, as much as we would love to, we want to approve every post as possible, because there is such a huge need out there, and this group is driving traffic and sales to those businesses that are in desperate need right now. But we still have to follow that process, and so that's been my biggest challenge with the group, is following that process while also trying to, I guess, just come to terms with the desperation. There is a desperation out there, but also the eagerness from a lot of people to get their posts approved and to get in there. I mean, I've had to convert my page, my Sarah Colquitt page, into a help desk where some of our moderators actually monitor the inbox full time, 24/7, responding to any queries about wait times, how do I structure my posts, I can't find my posts, or anything to do with the group. My volunteer moderators will, essentially provide you free customer service support.
Wow. All in the virtual space. And I mean, there's obviously some massive challenges with growing so fast. I think also, though, I'm really keen to touch on some of the successes. And I don't know if you've been to maybe touch on our biggest or the top 5. Wherever I look in my feed in a day, there is always some post that's gone viral and people that are just so grateful for the exposure and that what this is doing to their their livelihoods and their whānau. So love to hear from you. Maybe your top 5 biggest wins.
Yeah, I mean, I could, I've been there since the start, clearly, of the group, and so I've got some ones that I've always remembered. One of them, in no particular order, every post is good, but there was a few weeks ago a young man from Northland, 13 years old, and he had his mum post on his behalf, because he's not allowed on Facebook, about his wrapping paper, and his wrapping paper is covered in te reo words, and his post was one of the first few to actually go viral in the group, and he had huge success the mum contacted me, just super grateful. They've had months of orders in advance because of the sales that have come through the group. They've been able to grow their business, now expanding into cards, things like that. Another one that's most memorable is a lady who posted on behalf of her dad, who repairs and services lawnmowers. And so that story in the group was actually so popular that she ended up being on 7 Sharp, and her dad ended up being interviewed as well. And the reason why that story was so popular is because she posted on behalf of her dad without actually telling her dad. And he didn't have a Facebook page. He was just your old school service provider who just had a landline. And she ended up coming back the next day to edit her post and say that her dad was just getting swamped with all of these phone calls to his workshop asking about his services, and he just had no idea why. And so, yeah, she's just super grateful. Obviously, he's been able to book in months of work in advance for his business. Another one is a lady had, this one's one of my favorites. Just because of the Kiwi ingenuity that comes behind it. But essentially, this lady took a photo of her dad's creation, and it was a digger bucket that had been converted into a fireplace, an outdoor fireplace. Yeah. So that was quite interesting, and that got a lot of requests as well. Another favorite of mine is the letterboxes. So I'm not sure if any of you have come across any of the letterboxes, but man, there are some pretty cool letterboxes out there. There's one particular one where there was a caravan one in the last few days. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was pretty popular. Again, there was no Facebook page for the business or anything like that. It was just another daughter posting on behalf of her dad, who had no idea, and she simply just chucked in the Trade Me reference number, and obviously that sold out very quickly. But they've been influx with orders and things like that, so that's been pretty special. And I guess my last one is the dough boats. So I think it was last week. There was a post about a tourism attraction that had just opened just before lockdown in Taupo.
Yeah.
And it was the boats, the circular donut boat on the lake. And you can bring your own drinks, bring your own music, and it's just like this weird circle boat that sits on the Lake Taupo and just like spins around. And it's got lights and pumping music. And I remember that because that was one of the most popular ones that came through the group. Yeah.
That's so sick.
So there.
If you're watching and you've seen and you're in the group and you've seen some cool stuff, post a comment. What's been your standout post so far? It's so cool to be able to celebrate Kiwis in this way and have this platform. Thank you for everything you're doing with this. My last question for you is, I guess, what are your aspirations as we move out of Alert Level 2 for the group?
Yeah, so I've been secretly working behind the scenes for about 2 weeks now on a new platform for this group. So although the group is great, we've outgrown it, and there's limited functionality with what Facebook offers. And as the group is growing, so does the needs, and so does the demand for better functionality and
Wicked. Oh, have we lost
things
you?
like that. And so that's something I've been working on. This is a new platform. I can't reveal anything else.
Ooh,
oh, did you catch that?
Inside scoop? Is this a moment, or do people know?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Sorry, you dropped off for a little bit there, but you're back. Is this an inside scoop, or is this like public knowledge that there's
I mean, it's public knowledge, but I don't mention it that much because, I just want the piece to be able to work behind the scenes on it without making any promises yet. Yeah.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. This is cool. This is exciting. Thank you so much for being part of this Kōrero tonight. Just really want to acknowledge you and the amazing work that you're doing to support Kiwis all over New Zealand. And speaking of small business, We've got Pamella from Escapist Entertainment also with us. Kia ora, Pamela. How are you feeling? How's
Kia
things
ora.
been back in your premise?
So I'm back in my premise actually today. Backstage, so I'm in a control room. Had some difficulties with the internet just before, so I need to be here so that I can connect with the actual cable. We've been back for like 2.5 weeks almost. So 2.5, about just after we go to level 2, we managed to open again. We're back in the premise, and it's been pretty good. The business is picking up. Not to the level of what we were before, but we're getting there. I think the best part of it is actually being able to see our customers again. We're actually pretty close, it's like friends. So we know their names, like their stories, so it's like catching up, and then just it's kind of small town New Zealand. It's like meeting your own friends, which is really exciting, and they give you money, so I like that.
So good, real talk. Tell us about escape rooms and how the online experience differs from the one that you do in real life.
Yes, it's actually pretty different. So if you're not familiar with an escape room concept, it's pretty much like so you're going into a theme room, and it's as if you were playing in your own movie. So you can be like Indiana Jones, and you go into this temple. We actually do have that. So you go into this temple, and then you're trying to do a mission, or you come across this cursed piece that you need to put back to its rightful place. With the online escape room, it's kind of the same, but then you can't you're not inside a room. So it's like this pretty much. So we will have, so for example, we doing a session with you guys, so I will just tell you the story, and then I'll send you pictures through the chat group, and I'll take you through this temple as such. So you're not there doing it yourself, so most of it is in your head. It's a mix between tabletop role-playing games. If you ever heard of D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, I sound very nerdy, but yes, it's pretty much like role-playing groups combined with an escape room. So we're talking, and it's a lot of storytelling, and you can do things that you can't do in an escape room. Like if you want to bash someone's head, I mean, you can, but then in a real escape room, I will be like, guys, please don't do that. In an online escape room, go ahead. You want to punch somebody, go ahead. You want to,
we don't condone violence.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry. But it is interesting what happened inside an online escape room.
And was that something that you did before, or was that something you set up as a result of going into level 4?
It's something completely new in terms of what we do. But then so this is not a new concept. So D&D has been around for a long time. We didn't come up with it or anything. There's this podcast. There's been quite successful. We've talked about it before, but then we think that it's not going to take off, because there's a real thing, and then why would people want to do this? I think it's a combination between what we've seen before, what we can do, and then the situation that we're in, and then we need to do something. I mean, we are hoping that we can still earn while we're in lockdown. As a business that's very dependent on people coming in and doing stuff in space, we're completely decimated. In terms of the lockdown completely decimated our business, and if we can't do anything, if we can't do any online stuff, we're going to be pretty stuffed. So just try this out. We have seen this successful previously in another place, so we're just adapted to our taste pretty much. We put our spin on it, we put illustration, and then it's completely different to our physical escape rooms. And it's actually been quite successful. We're pretty happy with how it takes off. Yeah.
This is awesome. And I think I'd love to be able to touch a little bit on your mindset, Pam. Like, it sounds like you really thought about what some of the possibilities and opportunities were and just went for it, you know, and it's really incredible and inspiring to see. I'm really keen to understand, like, what was your mindset? Like, you wake up and, you know, we find out we're in level 4 and we're not sure how long we're going to be staying there.
Yeah.
What was your mindset? What was your approach to this that supported you to really make these changes and create amazing experiences for people to engage with your business?
I think, to be completely honest, the first thing that comes into mind when I was like, okay, we will have to shut down. I'm definitely scared. That's the first thing. It's like, okay, how are we going to pay bills? What can we cut? Like, you go into preservation mode, right? Okay, let's go through our bills. Can we plead to our landlord to give us discount? This has happened before the announcement of the lockdown, because we can see the businesses, you know, getting slower, and then things are getting very, you know, uncertain. We've done that prior to the actual lockdown itself, and we have activated our online board game store as well prior to the lockdown. And then so we launched it really quickly, and luckily, you know, our website provider Rocket Spark, just a little plug in there, a local provider. They're really helpful, really easy. Hi, Esther. Really
Welcome back, Esther.
So we can move online quickly in terms of board game retail, so there's, you know, a little bit of income there. And then I guess we just don't have time to really think too much, because we have to support our staff as well. And then we put them on. We just, you know, like, okay, guys, what can we do? And then they're like throwing ideas. And then so one of our staff, Scott, he's a big role players. He's been trying to forever put us into this role playing. I was like, I don't like it. And then hear me out. And then you're like, okay, let's try this out. And then you're tasked with this, convince us. And he did. And then because this Escapist podcast, they pretty much send their materials online so we can try it out. So Scott actually try it on us, and then we were quite convinced, okay, we can do this, we can change this. And then we make it our own pretty much. And then the next rooms that we launch, it's our own material. So yeah. Yes,
That's
so
powerful.
that's pretty much how we roll, I guess.
There's golden nuggets. I think I'm hearing, you know, like, what can we do? What can we do? And being really open to possibilities. And that it sounds like wasn't a weight or a burden that you carried on your own, that you shared that with other people and was like, okay, how might we, how could we, what can we, to kind of generate some possibilities and some opportunities. And, you know, it wasn't just that, it was then you implemented it and you gave it a go, and it might not have been perfect and it might not have been done before, but you did it anyways.
Yeah,
so cool, Pam.
I think that's kind of how we roll. Because when we first opened, we were just so scared. Everything needs to be perfect. Everything needs to be perfect, and then it kind of hampers our. It doesn't work, because like, I think there's a point where there's a time and effort and quality. Like, you spend so much time and so much money and quality, and there's a point where extra time and extra money is not going to make it any much better. So we just throw it in there and then refine, continuous improvement. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I'm a recovering perfectionist, and I'm just like resonating.
I think a lot of people are we think that it needs to be perfect, but I think that hampers us quite a lot.
Heck yes. And it puts a lot of roadblocks, hey? Like, how am I going to execute if I have to wait till it's perfect? And we've had to be really responsive in lockdown. We haven't been able to play the game of perfectionism, or some have, and may not still be in the game. So I just want to really acknowledge you, Pam, and love the work that you do at the escape rooms, and the amazing mindset you have to have brought the rooms online, and just everything you're doing. Big love, big fan. I want to say thank you to Esther, Sarah, and Pam for jumping on tonight and having this kōrero. It's been really soulful, and I'm sure that there's been some amazing insights for the people watching. So thanks for being part of this conversation, and ka kite.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.